at the end.
Well, thank you everyone for showing up.
What a treat,
Very
right?
excited to talk about The Fugitive and.
Oh, do you need Rich in this? Look, we totally messed it up.
What?
You'll go over there.
Get out of my seat.
Yeah, get out of here.
You got a
See.
call. Tell him you're busy.
We have a camera set up.
Hey, you have questions for me.
I do.
Let's see if there's any.
Don't you dare. Okay, go ahead.
They always used to do this to Letterman,
Okay.
like Howard Stern would grab the questions from him. No.
Go ahead, you can.
No, that's fine.
Okay, we've known each other long enough. Rich was one of the first jobs I ever had in broadcasting. I was so excited because you were given an evening show on the AM loop. Remember AM 1000 when it was talk?
Yes.
And Kevin Matthews was
loop.
over there, and Steve Cochran was over there. And at nights it was the Richard Roeper show, and I got to do his news, and we had a blast. It didn't feel like work.
Well, this was during the Bulls' runs of the 1990s when they were, having that
Best of the
amazing
best.
6 championship run. So occasionally we'd have an evening show that would go on at 7 o'clock, right around the time the Bulls would be taking the court against the Trailblazers or the Suns in the NBA Finals. And we still could play music then. Of course, we wanted to watch the game too, so I'd say, no one's played The Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys by Traffic in all 15 minutes. Let's play that now. Right. So we'd play a 15-minute song and watch the game, and I'd say, Stairway to Heaven was an 8-minute and 37-second single. I think we played the entire Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull at one point, until finally the program director called, because I know what you're doing.
Yes. Yes, he did. But that was a good time.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. But yes, so The Fugitive tonight, the focus of this gathering.
Can I ask, has everybody seen The Fugitive? Can I see a show of hands if you have seen The Fugitive? So has everybody seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because then we can talk in a way that won't spoil anything, right? But
Raise
just
your
kinda
hand if
get you
you've
in-
never seen The Fugitive. Has anybody never seen it? Maybe one? Okay. I think we're pretty safe as far as spoiler alerts goes. But the whole point of why we chose it is because this was the weekend where the parades were supposed to be happening. St. Patrick's Day parades, not happening, right? So we found a through line and a theme, of course, the parade theme. And oh my goodness, when I was rewatching this, who remembers a very young Lester Holt in this?
Yeah.
Very young with the mustache, right? Pam Zeckman, gotta love her, right? John Drummond.
John Drummond, when you watch this again too, it's so great because he is so good, even though it's not real. He sounds like he's going to crack the case for CBS 2. I mean, the way he delivers the news, well, Kimball supposedly did, we understand there could be a one-armed man, I don't know, so-called one-armed man, we'll get to the bottom of this. You could see, Drummond's going to get the scoops on all of this stuff, so it's so great.
He's going to crack the case.
Yeah, Bulldog. I want to mention, too, I know you got questions, but we could just chat, too. The parade sequence is amazing, too, because Fugitive came out, I think, I want to say August 1993. Yeah. And the parade sequence is the March 1993 St. Patrick's Day parade. They turned this movie around very, very fast because there was early buzz in the studio that they had a blockbuster on their hands. They wanted to get it out toward at least the end of summer. But the St. Patrick's Day parade, I was at the Sun-Times, which was at 401 North Wabash Avenue. I don't know what structure is there now. There's some tower with some name on the side of it, like in very small letters. But that, as you know, I think some of you know, the Sun-Times was there for years, and one of my friends at the Illinois Film Office actually told me, hey, they're going to be filming a movie during the St. Patrick's Day parade. But the movie she was talking about was a movie called Blink. Now, does anybody remember the movie Blink? It's a pretty cool thriller starring Aidan Quinn, a terrific actor, and Madeline Stowe plays this violinist who is blind, and then she gets I don't know. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, fantastic stuff, right? So she has this operation to restore her sight, but then she sees things we don't know if it's real or not. Laurie Metcalf plays her best friend in there. But they were filming a scene for Blink where Aidan Quinn, who's playing a Chicago cop, is trying to find Madeline Stowe, because he thinks she's in danger. And that was actually being filmed at the same time the Fugitive parade sequence was being filmed. The two film crews actually had to get together beforehand and say, well, you can have Wacker and Wabash. We'll take LaSalle. Because it would have looked weird if Dr. Richard Kimball all of a sudden ran through Blink. Different movie.
Very different.
But the parade sequence is amazing. You'll see, of course, Roland Burris and other Illinois state officials at the time. But like a lot of the Fugitive, they had a script, and it had gone through a lot of iterations and different changes. They had pretty much a finished shooting script, but in that case, they did not, I mean, they obviously had to get permits and stuff, but they didn't tell everybody, like for Ferris Bueller, it was like they made the parade for the movie. They didn't tell everybody, that was out for the parade that this was going to happen. All of a sudden, people just saw this guy running through the parade with this plastic bowler, and then Tommy Lee Jones chasing him, and they didn't know what was going on. So, you get that
would never happen today because of union and, suddenly be like, wait, that's my image. I want a percentage.
Yeah, but it's just such a cool sequence. So, yeah, we're getting a little St. Patrick's Day on the screen today, at least.
See, and we needed that. We all needed that. The other piece, too, I mean, how was it received when it came out? Did people like it?
It was interesting because Andrew Davis, who directed The Fugitive, had gone through so many different scripts and different premises. This is obviously, as you folks know, inspired by the television series, but that was 25 years earlier, so it wasn't like, oh, this is a slam dunk hit, but they knew they had something great there. There was an original idea that someone had hired a hit on Dr. Richard Kimball because he had botched an operation, and the guy's wife had died, so he wanted to do a hit. They finally came up with the idea of the big pharma angle, which I think worked perfectly because we're uncovering the mystery through the eyes of Dr. Richard Kimball. So when it came out, it actually was a huge hit. It made I want to say about $200 million, a little shy of $200 million, which would be $400 million in today's dollars. Huge critical fave. Roger loved it. Gene loved it. And it got nominated for 7 Oscars, which was really rare for an action film. It still is. But a little bit more now, you'll see some films like, the Christopher Nolan films and things like that. But 7 Oscar nominations, and of course the win for Tommy Lee Jones
that's what I was thinking.
For Best Supporting Actor. And the minute he comes on screen, arrives on screen, it's just, he's perfect for the part, and he just commands it. And I love his crew, Joey Pants.
Yeah. Joey Pants. Yeah.
And that was there were a ton of other actors up for that role, but they wanted someone who could hold the screen with Tommy Lee Jones, because Joey Pants is fearless as an actor. He doesn't give a shit. So you can tell just the way they go back and forth. And I love that there's this kind of diverse crew. There's a black woman. There's this young kid who's in over his head
with his ponytail.
Yeah, with his ponytail. So it's a great crew. And I love the procedural part as well, because there's the chase of the fugitive, but also the investigation into what actually created this horrible murder.
Is it true that the actual train sequence was not filmed because everything really was pretty local as far as being filmed, but where was the train scene filmed?
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jen. I thought the brilliance of the script was to have the fugitive hide in plain sight, as opposed to go on this cross-country thing. So they filmed, and you recognize the Hilton and Towers and a lot of locations. The U.S. Marshal's office, I think, is right. It's not the Wrigley Building, but right near. Man, they had a nice office.
Right there at Wells and whatever.
Man, right on Michigan Avenue there. But the train sequence, the train and the bus crash, was actually filmed outside of Asheville, North Carolina. And it's pretty amazing because this film was done with all practical effects. When there's no special effects. We talk about practical effects. It means if you see
a train.
If you see a train crash into a bus, it's not a model. It's a train and a bus. You don't see that in a lot of action movies. The recent Mad Max movie was all practical effects, which is why it was so cool. Or Baby Driver, the car chase movie, Edgar Wright. Those were all real cars on the streets of Atlanta, not superimposed or green screen or anything. And same thing with The Fugitive. So they went to this area outside, this dam outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and actually staged that, with cameras from all these different angles. And the incredible thing is that bus and that train are still there in that ravine. You can go visit it there. They never took it out.
It's a site.
There.
It's like
it's a tourist attraction. Yeah, you can go see the Fugitive train and bus. And you'll see, now obviously there were stuntmen involved, but Harrison Ford, was always one of those guys that wanted to do as many stunts as possible, whether he was Indiana Jones or in the Star Wars movies. So you see there are certain unbroken shots where you can tell it's him, and he tore some ligaments, which made his limp very realistic the rest of the movie, because he actually did tear some ligaments. So they staged all of that, and then the scene where he gets chased through the dam, and then he takes that deep dive, some of that was also shot outside of Chicago, but they actually had to reconstruct that set, the big giant dam where he's getting chased by Tommy Lee Jones. So it was an expensive movie. Those two scenes each cost a couple $1 million. So it was, they knew that, again, they had the budget to do it because people thought this was going to be a hit movie. But yeah, that That train and bus sequence is pretty incredible when you realize you're not looking at models or Harrison Ford's not in front of a green screen, you know, when all that stuff is happening.
Which is so common now. And a lot of newbies. Okay, back in the day, this was their first movie. I was floored because I completely forgot about one of them in the lab, which I know you're going to tell us.
Oh, Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch is in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
Jane Lynch, who I grew up with and went to high school with and have known since we were kids. And I'm still friends with. I guess she tried to make it in acting or something. She told me she was going to go.
She's done a couple things.
It was so great. She was, first of all, she's fantastic. I just saw her right before the pandemic. She comes back to Chicago all the time. Her sister's here, her family's here. And it's always great seeing her. But it was, listen, tons of people have a lot of talent and never make it. But it was interesting because when Jane first went to Hollywood, this would have been the mid-'80s, so she was 23, 24. She kept getting cast as housewives in like Mop and Glow commercials and stuff because she had that look. She has a kind of a 70s, 50s housewife look at the time. And she's like, I'm 23, I'm single, I'm never getting married probably. She's married now, which is awesome. But, you know, she was always like, Mop and Glow, and 3 kids would be running around. But yeah, she's got 2 great scenes in The Fugitive as the doctor who, is Richard Kimball's friend. And then Julianne Moore, when you watch the opening credits, it's interesting because hers is like the 3rd or 4th name. It's in big, big letters. Julianne Moore, who was just, getting her, that was her big break at the time. And it turned out to be a much smaller role. The original screenplay had her character, the doctor, who of course sees, Dr. Richard Kimball reading the chart and saving the boy's life. And I love when she takes that badge. Stay right here.
Get right here. Security!
The original story that they had, the screenplay, when she signed for the role, she was then going to take him and help him and go on the run with him, and there was going to be a romance between the 2 characters. And then they decided literally a week or 2 before they started filming, this is going to just kind of stop the plot that we have going. And they told her, just before she arrived for filming, you're only going to be here for 3 days, not the 3 weeks we thought we needed you. She's still great in it, but she has talked about how that was so
crushing.
Crushing. As an actress, when you think you've got a role and then all of a sudden, and I think in the very limited amount of time she's on the screen, you can see there's a movie star there. So it might have worked more in her favor to have 6 minutes where she's incredible than this plot that, I think the subplot that might not have worked for everybody.
Right. So. Hold on. Let me look at my questions. We got through that. Okay, cool. Oh, who I saw in the rewatching of this recently was David Pasquesi, who is dear friends with Joel Murray, has a role as so in one of the reporter scenes, there's a very tall gentleman with very prominent features. Oh, yeah. And David Pasquesi is a well-known voiceover actor that grew up with Joel Murray, Bill Murray's younger brother, Andy Murray's younger brother. Raise your hand, Andy. Say hello. Caddyshack restaurant in Rosemont, and coming
Andy?
soon somewhere close by, which I can't reveal yet. But anyway, I could tell you, but would have to kill you. All right, go ahead.
So we got that going for us, which is nice. We got that going for us,
yeah.
Cool.
So the recent nominations for the Oscars, how has your world changed?
Nominations are Monday, actually. They're going to be Monday morning.
3 days from now. Okay.
It's such a backwards world. I keep thinking that we already had the Oscars.
What was the big controversy with the Golden Globes?
The Golden Globes. With the Golden Globes, and you and I have talked about this for years. I wrote an article about this 20 years ago. The Golden Globes are complete sham and farce and joke.
Hollywood Foreign Press.
Hollywood Foreign Press. When you see these actors and directors and filmmakers say, I want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. It sounds like the United Nations. Like, wow, what an august body of distinguished individuals. And the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is 88 journalists who have to live in Los Angeles but write for foreign publications. Many of them do not work full-time in the business. You have to have 4 articles published in a given year to keep your membership. 4, which I call Tuesday, as far as work goes. But they, and there was a time when the Golden Globes were such a joke. They lost their television contract. They weren't even on TV, and then TBS picked them up. Then NBC picked them up. And at some point, agents and managers and publicists decided, we can turn this into something like kind of a run-up to the Oscars.
They got Moët as a Chandon, they basically made it the drinking award show.
And they turned it into a great television show because people, the stars would all go to the Beverly Hilton and you could see them, the upside down bottles of champagne. And it was this kind of loosey-goosey entertainment show. The TV people had to sit in the back, the movie people in the front. You could see the pecking order. So Christine Lottie would win an award, and she'd have the toilet paper on her shoe because she was in the bathroom that one year. So it was very entertaining television, and we kind of lost sight of the fact that you only needed like 19 votes to win a Golden Globe. And they would always, give the awards to whoever was nicest to them on the junkets, and that kind of all came to light again. They flew the Hollywood Foreign Press Association out to the set of Emily in Paris, and put them up at a $3,000 night hotel, and all of a sudden Emily in Paris got nominated for a Golden Globe, and Lily Collins got nominated. The co-creator of Emily in Paris wrote an editorial saying we didn't deserve to get a Golden Globe nomination opposed to a lot of other shows. And then it also came out that they have 0 black members, that they basically pay their journalists out of money. NBC pays $27 million for the Golden Globes. It goes to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So it's going to have to go through a lot of changes, there's no coincidence that you saw, Da 5 Bloods and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and One Night in Miami essentially get shut out at the Golden Globes and will not get shut out at the Oscars, other than Chadwick Boseman, who's going to win Best Actor, for sure, and would have won even not for the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman, because it's a transcendent performance. So he's going to win. The Oscar nominations do come out Monday morning. And it is kind of cool this year because there's not a bunch of guarantees other than Chadwick. There's 7 or 8 films that could win for Best Picture. There's different performances that are pretty close. So it'll be interesting to see. And they'll try to do like the Golden Globes. I thought Amy Poehler and Tina Fey did the best you could do under the circumstances, being in separate cities and stuff. But I don't really miss the red carpet bullshit anyway.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you miss the red carpet bullshit? I remember seeing you
I used to have to do that, and I'd have to pretend like I cared, and I was just like, there's nothing you can ask anybody, and you're behind these plastic hedges next to Pat O'Brien or somebody, and everyone's like this, and then someone comes by, and you're like, what are you going to ask them? There's nothing. Every once in a while you'd get somebody who would be great. Alan Arkin, who is just as much of a curmudgeon as the curmudgeons he usually plays. And you remember Little Miss Sunshine, right? So he's, that's it. So the year after that, I said, how has your life changed after, Little Miss Sunshine? Did you get more roles? And he says, nothing changed. I didn't get any work. Nobody cares. And I'm like, thank you, Mr. Alan Arkin. All right.
Who surprised you as being nicer than you would expect?
Everybody's nice. They're nominated for an Oscar. You know what I mean? They're nobody's going to be shitty to you. The cameras are on, the lights are on. They're
wearing their best dress.
The only other thing I always loved was, the Oscars, especially after 9/11, it was always on lockdown. And we had to get there like 7 hours before the red carpet stuff started, which was 3 hours before the Oscars. It was about a 24-hour day. Boo-hoo, you're at the Oscars, but it would be 100 degrees. But the greatest thing is inviting people to the Oscars. They can't even invite everybody in the Academy. There's 10,000 members in the Academy, and there's a lot of big stars if they don't have a movie out or something. I mean, there's certain A-listers that are always going to get invited. But if you've won an Oscars, it's sort of like if you won the Masters, right? You're always going to be invited back. So God love him, every year, Ernest Borgnine would show up at like noon. And, because he won for Marty in 1850. And it's, and he was the greatest guy, but he knew it was so smart. People would interview him because he'd be like, oh, because up until then it'd be like the Geico cavemen would be out there, or, other reporters interviewing each other. I mean, Academy Award winner, Marty Borgnine, what was it like to win during the Eisenhower administration? And he was great, but it was every year I'd go, here comes Marty. I don't know if he stayed or if he just got interviewed and then got back in the limo and went home because it was time for dinner. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But smart move. Because at the end you always get that celebrity traffic jam, where like Renee Zellweger's getting stepped on by Nicole Kidman because she's a foot shorter and they're all bumped into each other. Celebrity traffic jam, celebrity traffic jam. So smart move. Think about that.
Your job has changed so much because of everything that's happened. Like, what do you miss the most?
This is the most amount of people I've seen in a year. God bless you all.
Yes.
I feel a little like Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway when he goes to the big FedEx party and they try to serve him seafood. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Where's Wilson?
Yeah. Yes. The last movie, like everything else, seeing movies shut down pretty much a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. I saw one movie in the theater after the onset of the pandemic, and that was Christopher Nolan's Tenet, because Christopher Nolan was not going to have people see his movie on the small screen, as people know. So they opened up the Music Box Theater, shipped in a print, and I saw Tenet, so that was probably in July, I want to say, of last year. Everything else I've seen has been at home through links, whether it's streaming shows or films. They send me the link a week or two in advance, and it's very convenient, but it's not the same. And there's certain films, like, for example, Nomadland. Did anybody see Nomadland, the Frances McDormand? If you get a chance, check that out, because I think it should win Best Picture. I think Frances McDormand has a chance to win her third Oscar. It's an incredible story. It's based on a true life nomad movement in the 2000s when there was the big financial crisis. And a lot of people that were thinking they were about to go into retirement and enjoy their golden years, maybe a few years short of that, found themselves unable to even pay their mortgages or their rent, and they bought nice vans and started just traveling the greater Southwest, and they built this whole amazing nomad community where everybody would kind of help everybody out and give tips about jobs. A lot of them end up getting jobs like at Amazon, plants seasonal work. So it's based on a true story, but it's fiction, and Frances McDormand is incredible. And that's the kind of movie you can watch at home because it's a quieter character study. What I miss is seeing, obviously the big action movies, but also horror films are so great to see with the crowd. When you see Get Out, when I saw Get Out for the first time, didn't realize that much about it, or A Quiet Place, the John Krasinski film. And there's always that great feeling of seeing something in an audience, with an audience, a scary movie, and you want to grab the person next to you, and there's that cathartic laugh after everybody gets scared. I miss that. And of course, comedies, it's great watching comedies with an audience. We're getting there. I mean, look, we got this handsome group tonight. We're going to see a movie, which is pretty cool. I'm actually going to start seeing some films in theaters next week, in advance. So I'm happy. I'm excited about that. I'm going to see King Kong versus Godzilla next week in a theater. Right now, King Kong is a 3-1 favorite on the new online betting sites, for those of you. But, I'm like, okay, but yeah, who knows? It could be fun.
Good.
It's got Alexander Skarsgård in it. He's always good, right? He could beat either one of those guys.
What's the line in Vegas on whether theaters make it?
I hope they do, and I think they will. I do, we finally are rounding the corner that we weren't, 6 and 8 months ago. So you'll see a lot of the theater listings now, and AMC is now reopened, and everybody's still doing the safe thing and limited audience. But it would be just devastating if we didn't have movie theaters. It's such an American art form. It's the American art form. If along with jazz, when you look at the onset of it and how great it's been for business. When you think about movie theaters, it's not just the theater operators, but it's all the kids that get those cool jobs and get to be ushers or work the popcorn stand. And now a lot of times you have a nice little bar, or you have a coffee shop, or all these other things that go along with it. So and yeah, exactly. And like I said, there's still nothing that can beat going to the movies. And I've been asked by groups for 25 years when I've given speeches like, are the movies going to die? Is the VCR going to kill movies? Is cable going to kill movies? Is Netflix? And what I always tell, especially I tell parents this, if they have kids who are adolescents or teenagers, I say, you have to understand something. On Friday night or Saturday afternoon, your kids are going to the movies because they want to get away from you. It's not just going to the movies. You understand? They want to go somewhere. Because that's one of the, especially like when a kid is 12. There's not so many things they could do, but, for generations, you could, all right, I'll drop you off at the movies. You can go with your friends, or I'll wait outside or something. But it's one of the first things you can do on your own, as a kid, and meet your friends. So there's that experience, just that communal experience. You think about your favorite movie-going experience, the first time you saw, Titanic. If you went to see Titanic in a theater and everybody was like, oh, there's room on the board for both of them. Come on, scoot over. And then she throws like $100 million away. Could have helped a lot of people with that. Selfish old lady. But that's a whole other thing. It's seeing the movie. But I remember, going back, I grew up in the south suburbs River Oaks Theater in Calumet City was my go-to theater, and I remember seeing Rocky there, and it was the first, and again, Rocky's this little film with this unknown actor, and I just went with my buddies because we thought, there's some sort of boxing movie, and like when Rocky hits Apollo Creed with that body shot, and Creed goes down for the first time in his career, he'd never been knocked down. We were jumping up as if we were at an actual fight. We're so into that, and you would never have that experience at home. If you did, you'd be grounded. You sit down. What are you doing? So yeah, I do think the theaters are going to come back. I think by the fall, we'll be maybe 75% capacity too. It won't be just limited seating. The rollout as it's going, I think, is smart. But the theaters, if they didn't open soon, it would have been some pretty dire times for them. It has been. It's been tough.
Well, back to The Fugitive, which we're going to start here in mere seconds, and thank you all for being here and for your patience and focus. I remember when it came out, I was working at the Davis Street Fish Market in Evanston, waiting tables after I could carry 5 plates on this arm. Thank you very much. It was good training. And don't ask what I could do to a lobster. Right? Look out. It'll make you blush. Anyway, at the Davis Street Fish Market, one of my coworkers was cast in The Fugitive, and he did this whole thing about how he was cast. His name is Matt Scharf, great actor, and he was cast as one of the drug dealers. He was telling us about it. Well, unfortunately, his lines were cut, but I saw the back of his head. So look closely for the back of Matt Scharf's head in the scene.
I think Otis Wilson is one of the guards, right? As I recall, you'll see him, the Chicago Bear.
Oh, that's right.
You'll see him early on.
Wow. So the scene where when the doctor is living in that basement when he makes that fake ID, that bad fake ID, and he dyes his hair dark, and he's living in the basement of the sweet woman who's got the son. That's the drug dealer. Yeah. The friend of the son is my friend Matt Scharf.
Nice.
So there you go. You
6
can see the back of his head too.
Dr. Richard Kimball.
Exactly.
Somebody's been eating oranges and making IDs, as
That's right.
Lieutenant Gerard
Dip the can upside down.
Awesome.
Where were you when the movie came out, and any memories that when you saw it last that you were like, oh, I forgot about that?
Well, I saw it in the theater because I was not full-time movie reviewing, but I was writing a lot about anything that was being done in Chicago. So I remember seeing it at a press screening. But the most recent viewing experience I had was actually pretty cool at the Overlook Film Festival, the Roger Ebert Film Festival that continues on in his name down at University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana for the 25th anniversary of The Fugitive. Andrew Davis came down, and we showed it in the theater there and talked about it. So that was a really cool experience. And, one of the cool things about film festivals like that is for Andrew, it was the first time he had seen it in a theater with a crowd since 1993. So
and for a filmmaker, that's pretty exciting.
It's always exciting, yeah, which is kind of cool that we're going to see it like this.
Well, hi, Andrew, if you're streaming this. Andrew Davis, he's a nice person, I hear. Right?
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Really, really great guy. Okay, enjoy.
Listen, I'll tell you what a great director is. He made a good Steven Seagal movie. Under Siege, right? I mean, that's a director. Steven, just do what I tell you to do.
Just be you.
Speaking of restaurants, that's the last anecdote. You know that Steven Seagal opened a restaurant in Chicago called Steven Seagal's Restaurant? I'm not making this up. We're talking about celebrity restaurants, and I remember going to the opening party. There was a giant ice sculpture of a ponytailed Steven Seagal, and we watched it melt like the hopes of the restaurant that night, and it was gone within like 2 weeks because apparently Steven Seagal didn't have the Chicago base he thought he had. I didn't know we'd end up talking about Steven Seagal's Restaurant, but why not?
And that's what you get at Friday Feature with Richard Roeper. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everybody.
Everyone.
So great to have you all here.
Enjoy The Fugitive.
Enjoy The Fugitive. We're going to take just a couple seconds here to, knock down our technical things, and then we will start the movie momentarily. So as soon as we get off the stage and we move that camera, it will begin. So if you need to use the restaurant, see what you did with me? Steven Seagal, it's his fault. Restroom real quick, stretch your legs, get more popcorn, another beverage. We will start the movie in mere moments. So thank you so much.